Shots fired in the building. I heard somebody said someone was shot in the head.
Good, Mike, if I got shots fired.
Sir, if you can hear me, please put your firearm down, sir.
He crouched a little bit and he said it's time to die.
How are we supposed to continue our lives here?
And of course it was not the right decision. It was a wrong decision, period.
There must be accountability.
Keeping guns away from citizens who follow the law does very little to keep them away from criminals.
NRA kills kids! NRA kills kids!
It's kids at 5 feet. It may be funny to you, but it's not funny to me, okay?
They felt it couldn't happen here. They felt that. That's the false sense of security I worry about.
At a quiet elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, 19 children and 2 teachers were brutally murdered.
Since then, an in-depth investigation was launched by lawmakers and chilling details uncovered what they call a failure in communication and response that could have saved lives.
I'm Derek Garcia.
And I'm Patricia Guillermo. Thank you for joining us on this CBS 4 Investigates special report, Will Uvalde Happen Again?
It's a short question that we're asking districts, parents, viewers, and even children, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who live with the decisions adults make.
CBS 4 invited parents and their children to share their perspective, and what they said may be a wake-up call. What were your thoughts after learning about the events that happened in Uvalde?
It's very scary to think that these things can happen and do happen, you know, so it's very scary just to think of the severity of, you know, the damage and the loss that can happen in an instant.
Did you tell your grandson about the events that happened in Uvalde?
Unfortunately, after we came back from Uvalde, I had to tell him that if anybody ever went into the school, if he ever heard gunshots, people screaming, that he needed to hide.
How has this affected you?
Here we are having a conversation that I don't think anybody should be having. Nobody should ever go into a school and shoot at anybody, especially the children. They have done nothing wrong. That's very sad. Very.
And Patricia, I had the chance to speak with Veronica's grandson, Dante. He often called the killer a burglar or a bad guy because he doesn't know exactly what happened at Robb Elementary. But he says that he has a plan if something bad were to happen at his school.
You know why you went to that school, to where that bad stuff happened?
I think I'm trying to remember to pay our respect. To pay our respect.
Yeah. Earlier, when you were saying that you kind of had a plan if a bad person came to your school, you had the girls go to the girls' bathroom, and what would happen to all of the boys?
Well, the boys will be with my teacher, and my teacher's assistant will go in the girls.
Oh, okay.
So there's 2 teachers, like, to protect them.
Yeah.
So, and then we would lock the door so the burglar doesn't open the door, and then our class would be just like the class in the other time.
Yeah. You wouldn't want any of that to happen, right?
No. I wish like the police officers that would come would have like so much backup, because if there's so much burglars, then there's not gonna be enough cops to take down the burglars.
That makes sense. Where there's a lot of burglars, you want even more police officers, right?
Yeah.
Would you be scared if like a bad person came to your school?
Well, I think like if he had the gun, we would flip the tables like to take cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would that do?
Well, it would do like to protect us to not get shot.
And if you notice Dante, he's wearing an Avengers t-shirt, and he told me that he'd flip that table over so it could protect him like Captain America's shield.
A state House of Representatives committee was created to investigate the shooting. What we've learned could be a wake-up call that either existing standards and systems don't work, or they could have worked if they were done. The committee outlines this with, quote, We acknowledge that those same shortcomings could be found throughout the state of Texas. And instead of villains, they found, quote, found systemic failures and egregious poor decision making. We know of the 77 minutes of waiting. We know of the nearly 400 badges and boots that arrived. But according to the investigation, of the approximately 142 rounds the attacker fired inside the building, it is almost certain that he rapidly fired over 100 of those rounds before any officer entered. State Senator Juan Chuy Hinojosa sits on the Senate Special Committee to protect all Texans and called the response a total failure.
They all failed to take command. Nobody was in charge. It really is an embarrassment to law enforcement. And they admit that. Somebody should have taken charge right there and there in command of the situation and charged the shooter to take him out.
And investigators determined Robb Elementary did not adequately prepare for the risk of an armed intruder on campus on many fronts.
For example, the school's 5-foot fence was inadequate to meaningfully impede an intruder. There was a culture of non-compliance by school personnel who frequently propped doors open and deliberately circumvented locks. The school actually suggested circumventing the locks as a solution for the convenience of substitute teachers and others who lacked their own keys.
And one of the relaxed policies is something that we see right here in the Valley, which are bailouts.
It happens primarily in border communities with human traffickers trying to outrun the police, usually ending with the smuggler crashing the vehicle and the passengers fleeing in all directions. In Uvalde, they had around 50 bailout alarms between February and May of 2022. Investigators found the alerts weren't taken seriously. We asked teachers in the Brownsville area if they've dropped their guard with campus lockdowns. And
Governor Greg Abbott would argue that teachers and staff can be first responders by giving them a gun. But take a look at this survey. A survey of nearly 4,000 kinder through 12th grade teachers with the Texas American Federation of Teachers found 77% of Texas school employees do not want to be armed or expected to intercept a gunman. Texas has had the Marshall program since 2013 to allow teachers to carry in classes. And TEA records show that only 361 people have ever been licensed. Rather than keep guns out of schools, Governor Greg Abbott wants to increase the number of armed people and even sent this letter to the TEA's Commissioner Mike Morath to figure out ways to get more people into that Marshall's program. And as a reminder, it is a federal crime to have a firearm in a school zone. And again, 77% say that they do not want to carry. And I spoke with a retired teacher who was not afraid of retaliation because she's no longer with the school district, who said that carrying a gun is an absolute not. And we asked her if she could ever imagine other teachers pulling the trigger. Nelda Rocha started her life's calling December of 1991.
I retired in 2019 after working for 29 years as a teacher for BISD.
And after a career of molding young minds, she's taken on the role of being a full-time grandma.
And I have 3 that attend BISD.
She knows her way around a classroom and isn't a believer in the benefits of standardized testing and how much money is poured into it.
Hey, we're going in or we're staying here? What are we doing?
Columbine and Uvalde changed her world and says she is floored to see history repeating itself and disproportionately millions of dollars going towards security and not support.
Something went wrong there. And if they just do what they keep saying to do, just throw more money at that, throw more money at that. Where's the innovation? I haven't heard any innovative ideas. Where's the money going into helping parents be better parents in Texas? Helping the health professionals at the lower grade levels teach and monitor those children when they're younger, and give them strategies on how to cope, on how to handle things. Hire more people. Well, all the people were right there in the hallway. That didn't do us any good for those children, those souls.
And with more lawmakers supporting teachers' right to carry a gun, that means she could potentially be killing a child.
Can you imagine them doing that and having to take it? They can't. I just don't see it. It's unreasonable, an expectation. It's an unreasonable expectation to require a teacher to take a life of one of their students.
You went like this when I asked that question.
Just chills. Right now I can tell you my whole body is just the conversation that needs to happen. More people need to get chills.
And before retiring, she was part of the Association of Brownsville Educators. Now, the group advocates to the school board on key issues. And the association sent out a survey similar to the Texas American Federation of Teachers, and take a look at the findings. When asked, are you or have you contemplated leaving your profession as an educator, 51% said yes. And when asked, what concerns do you have about safety in the workplace, many responded, quote, not enough security or not taking it seriously, door locks, not enough drills. And the comment that particularly stood out to our investigative team is that we are reactive and not proactive.
Teachers have held walkouts and have gone on strike in other states over pay and safety. In Texas, however, according to the Texas Classroom Teachers Association, because we're an at-will state, a teacher could lose everything by going on strike: their benefits, chances of getting a job, and termination. We asked an AOBE organizer, Ida Abel-Dano, if the risk is worth it.
I think that varies from person to person. I personally think, because of what we've come to, I believe so. People are correct. People are literally getting sick and even dying. You know, we've had, unfortunately, some people pass away on campus this past year. So it's gotten that bad. The stress level, the burnout, it's real.
Still to come, a local school district is having to come up with creative ways to keep officers on campus after the city ends a long-running relationship.
I don't think there's any parent out there that is not worried.
And we're heading to an elementary school to see firsthand what they're putting on every door to keep a shooter out. Our CBS 4 investigates. Will Uvalde happen again? Continues in a moment.